The movie opens up with newspaper clippings of an article detailing Tion Industries being under investigation for letting its employees work for extended periods of time in an underwater drilling station. The article continues on to say that the survivors spent a long time without family or friends, due to which they were starting to experience paranoia. They'd also detailed witnessing strange figures in the sea. The scene then changes to the Kepler station, which is the command center for the Roebuck drill. A mechanical engineer on Kepler 822 named Nora brushes her teeth while she talks about how living underwater can make a person lose their sense of time. While Nora was busy thinking about her life, she all of a sudden hears a deep rumbling sound. Immediately alert, Nora goes out of the toilet to check where the sound was coming from and finds that water has started leaking into the command center. She doesn't waste any time and quickly jumps into action and starts waking up the rest of the crew, shouting that there's been a pressure breach. As Nora rushes toward the control room, another crew member named Rodrigo joins her, and they try to close the seal that separates the two parts of the center when they notice that some men have been left behind. Although Nora tries her best to wait for time, they run out of time and she's forced to close the doors before the crew can join them. Before they can relax, the control panel explodes, causing the two of them to pass out from the blow. When they regain consciousness, Nora hears an automated voice telling them that there's been a structural failure and that the crew needs to make their way to the escape pods. The two of them then head for the escape pods, where they find a computer that's still working. While Nora searches for the escape pod amongst the rubble, Rodrigo goes to work on the computer to try and figure out why the breach happened. He asks Nora if she had felt an earthquake, but she's unsure, and once Nora looks for a functional escape pod, she tries to get into it, but this is when she hears someone calling for help. When Nora and Rodrigo make their way through the broken structure, they find a man named Paul stuck under the rubble. They carefully pull his body out and help him walk as they make their way back to the escape pods. At this point, they notice that Kepler 822's captain, Lucian, is still alive. This is also when Nora finds that all the escape pods are actually missing. Meanwhile, Lucian orders Rodrigo and Paul to see if the submersibles are still intact, and when the two men leave, Nora asks the captain why he didn't take the chance to escape when he has family waiting for him back home. And he replies that as the captain, he felt responsible for everybody's life and wanted to make sure that all the survivors got out safely. While Nora has a breakdown over shutting the door off and being responsible for countless other people, the captain tries to calm her down and tell her that she can only look forward now. Once Lucian was done treating Nora, he sends her to the control base where she finds two other survivors, Emily, a biologist, and Liam, an engineer. And soon, they're joined by Lucian, Rodrigo, and Paul as well. Lucian informs that group that with the antenna down, no one outside knows what's happening to them, and because of the damage that they've sustained, it's likely that there'll be an explosion. Nora gets to work and estimates that they have about 30 minutes before everything blows up, but worries that they might not be able to make it out without any escape pods and submarines. And although nobody wanted to hear it, Lucian tells them that they need to head to the Roebuck. Nora was confused at his suggestion and reminds him that Roebuck is a mile away from them, to which he replies that they need to wear suits and walk toward it or else they will die in the explosion. Before anyone has time to argue, Liam tells the group to listen to the last transmission, and they hear people screaming and asking for help, and then they hear a roar of some kind from some creature. And this solidifies everybody's decision, and they agree to go back to Roebuck. Sometime later, everyone gets into their suits and get onto an elevator so they can go down to the ocean floor. As they submerge in the water, the captain reminds them that they need to prepare themselves for the pressure that they will encounter. Lucian orders Rodrigo to press the button to open the doors. However, at the last moment, Nora notices a crack in his helmet. She screams for Rodrigo to keep the door closed, but she was too late, and the door opens right at that moment, and this causes his helmet to explode from the pressure, and Rodrigo implodes along with it. Nora felt really shaken up, but Lucian reminds her that Rodrigo knew that he could possibly die, and that they need to keep moving if they want to survive. And then, they get onto another cargo elevator, and that takes them lower toward the ocean floor. Once they land, Lucian notices a distress signal coming from an escape pod, and Nora claims that someone might have survived inside the escape pod and that they need to go out and help. When Paul and Liam hear this, they volunteer to go out and search, and the two of them then get ready to head out, and Paul hands Emily a stuffed toy, telling her to keep it safe. Once they leave, Lucian asks Nora to keep all their functional cameras on so that they can keep an eye on the two men. Once Liam and Paul reach the escape pod, they show the surviving crew that there's a body inside the pod. However, Paul notices something strange and wonders if the body has turned into liquid. Back inside the cargo elevator, Lucian orders the two men to head back as they might be in danger the longer they stay outside. Suddenly, a creature jumps out of the dead body and attacks Paul. Luckily, Liam was right there next to him and he manages to kill it before it could harm Paul. They drag the creature back to the elevator where Emily examines it and she tells them that she's never seen anything like that creature before. And this is when all the lights go out inside the elevator, and as everyone starts to panic, Nora starts lowering the elevator manually, and suddenly, Kepler starts exploding above them, causing the elevator to break apart and fall to the ocean floor. Lucian orders everyone to head to another compartment, and when everyone starts swimming toward it, they notice creatures swimming above them. Quickly, they get inside the cargo chamber and lock the door behind them. As they continue to move forward, Lucian finds that one of the areas has been blocked by rubble from the Kepler explosion. Nora offers to go underwater to check if there's any space below it so they can make it to the other side, and everyone agreed, but before she left, Lucian attaches a line to all of them so they can follow it later. As she swims below it, she finds that it leads to a bigger open area and calls everyone to follow it. Lucian and Emily swim toward Nora first, and once they make it to safety, Liam follows them while Paul waits behind. Paul stands unaware that there's a creature lurking in the water right behind him and starts swimming to the rest of the crew. As soon as he makes it across, he's horrified to discover that the creature has gotten a hold of his line. Everyone tries to keep him afloat as they try to cut the line, but the creature overpowers him and rips Paul apart, killing him in front of them. Scared that the creature might kill all of them as well, Lucian screams at the rest of them to get out of the water. When they reach the midway station, Lucian tries calling for help but receives no response, and he informs the group that they can't stay in the midway station for a long time since it's very unstable. And to add to their anxiety, with Liam's oxygen scrubber damaged, they couldn't stay in the water for a long time either. And this is why Liam offers to stay back, but Nora tells him that they're not going to leave anyone behind. Lucian tells Liam to take shallow breaths because his oxygen scrubber is damaged, and the group starts swimming toward the rowboat, but no one notices something in the water. She informs everyone, and they start looking around so that they can spot it, and Lucian orders everyone to turn off their suit lights to keep the creature away from them, and he then turns on the feed inside their helmets so they can see the area around each other. However, before they can spot the creature, it appears behind Liam and drags him away. Nora rushes after him and is able to find him under some rocks, but suddenly, the creature grabs a hold of Nora and drags her away from the group. She tries to gather her bearings as the creature refuses to let go of her, and this is when a piece of the Kepler bumps into them, causing the creature to let go of her. Nora climbs up on the broken structure and starts looking around for the creature. Meanwhile, Lucian follows Nora and manages to find her alive. As he heads for her, the creature appears behind Nora and tries to eat her whole, but is unable to fit her helmet in its mouth. Lucian sees this as his chance to rescue Nora and starts stabbing the creature, causing it to disappear again. Lucian grabs Nora's hands just as their suits issue a warning that the pressure is increasing and that they need to be careful or it will implode. And unfortunately, his suit implodes and the pressure from his implosion causes Nora to lose consciousness. When she opens her eyes again, Nora finds herself in the deepest part of the ocean with no lights around her to see where she's at. She turns her suit lights on again to see around, and this is when she finally notices a big creature behind her. And terrified out of her mind, she quickly starts moving away, and soon she finds herself in front of Shepherd Drill, which is actually an abandoned drill. She goes inside and is able to take off her helmet, and she then tries to contact Liam and Emily and tells them that there are no escape pods on the drill, but they can breathe without their suits on. Nora then looks around the ship and finds Lucian's old uniform and keycard inside her locker, along with a sympathy card. She discovers that his daughter, who was at the same age as Nora, had actually passed away. And this is also why he had no problem of sacrificing himself, and she continues to look around as she waits to hear back from Emily and Liam and finds a map among Lucian's things. She uses the map to trace her distance from Roebuck, and just then, she hears back from Emily and Liam and head out again to help them. There, she sees that Liam is injured and Emily has been dragging him around. She helps Emily drag Liam back to safety, and as they talk about their lives to distract themselves from the situation, Nora reveals that she used to have a fiancé who had gone missing after he went diving. Emily, at the same time, reveals that she's in love with Liam, and instead of going back to Shepherd Drill, the three of them head toward Roebuck. As they reach the entrance of Roebuck, Emily's oxygen begins to run out, but Nora pushes her to go forward. And this is when they discover that the entrance has become a breeding ground for the creatures. With no other choice left, Nora tells the group that the creatures are actually sleeping and maybe they could sneak around them. And they do manage to sneak past them with their lights turned off when Emily's suit begins to ring an alarm, warning her of low oxygen levels. The alarm awakens the large creatures and it instantly attacks Nora. Before the creature engulfs her, she manages to tell Emily to keep dragging Liam and herself back to safety. Inside the creature, Nora uses a flare gun and blasts a hole in the creature. She manages to escape from the hole and starts to run inside, but before she can do that, she notices a much larger creature, which is the size of the drill just in front of her. The creature attacks the abandoned drill, and the impact causes it to explode, and Nora speeds up and turns in the opposite direction to try and avoid the explosion. The pressure causes her oxygen tank to become damaged, and her suit begins to ring an alarm, informing her that her oxygen levels are critically low. At that moment, Emily grabs Nora's hand and drags her inside the Roebuck. She tries to open her helmet so that Nora can breathe, but the button jams. Emily then breaks Nora's helmet, giving her a chance to breathe right before she can pass out. With Nora now being able to breathe, she tells the two of them that they need to figure out a way to get out, otherwise they'll be stuck with the creature lurking outside. And with much difficulty, they manage to make their way to a chamber where they find 3 escape pods and a computer that's still functional. Emily and Nora agree to send Liam up first since he's injured. However, both of the women were aware that only one of them could make it back to the surface since one of the pods were actually damaged. With the creature attacking Roebuck from outside, Nora tells Emily that she needs to be the one leaving since she has a family waiting for her. And when Emily doesn't agree with her decision, Nora punches her, and while Emily was still disoriented, she takes this chance to push Emily into the escape pod, and then gives Emily Paul's stuffed bunny and tells her to give it to his family. Emily lets Nora lock her in once she promises that she will try to fix the pod and follow her, and once Nora successfully launches the 2 escape pods, she notices that several small creatures have followed them. And determined not to let her friend die, Nora decides to initiate a total meltdown of the drill, which will cause the drill to self-destruct. An automated voice begins a countdown while the nuclear core heats up and explodes. The explosion causes Nora's death and also catches the creature and kills it as well. And several days later, newspapers report that 2 survivors have been rescued from the deep-sea drill. However, the details surrounding the deaths of the rest of the crew remain classified. Meanwhile, Tyan Industries refuses to let Emily and Liam sit down for interviews as they prepare to launch another drill similar to Kepler. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a company covering its own ass, and with that, the movie comes to an end.